Good day, grade 11s. And once again, we are back together. And I know that you are busy preparing for your final exams right now. So we are going to be going through this question paper, which is paper 1. I'm taking it from the Eastern Cape. This is November 2023. So please, if you haven't subscribed, just make sure you're part of the family. And I'm going to take you question by question. You're going to publish this one after the other so that you can be prepared for your final exam. All right, so let's get right into the question. So I'm going to start with algebra, and this is the part where you build confidence in your exam. Right, let's go right into it. So firstly, they give us, they say solve for x in the following. Right, please note this is a zero product rule, or in this case, this is a quadratic expression that is equal to 0. So we don't need to waste time here. We're going to say, well, this is going to be x squared minus 3x. But if you notice in this case, we can take out x as a common factor. We've got x into x minus 3, which is equal to 0. So x is equal to 0, or x is equal to 3. Right, so those are the two factors that we had. We are using the zero product rule, and in this case it means that both are equal to 0, and as a result we can move on to the next one. Now on 1.1.2 we've got x into x plus 3, x into 3x plus 1. This is equal to 5. Now we would need to go through this one because we'd need to, try and multiply and get it into standard quadratic form. And the reason for that is that we've got a 5 on the other side, right? So we're going to have 3x squared, right? So x times 3x. We're using our distributive law, 3 times x times 3x, which is 3x squared, x multiplied by 1, which will give us x. Right, and we're going to bring over the 5 to the other side. It becomes minus 5, and this is equal to 0. Now, in this case, in as much as they didn't write down the fact that we could use the quadratic formula, but you can see we might not be able to factorize this. So what do we do when we can't factorize? We use our quadratic formula. That's minus b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And what's our b value? So that's minus a positive 1. Our b value is 1 plus minus the square root of, that's 1 squared, minus 4 times our a value is 3, and our c value is negative 5. Right, this is all over 2 times our a value, which is 3. Right, so we should get two values for a in this case. Okay, we're going to have minus 1 plus the square root of, that's going to be 1 plus, that's negative times a negative. Right, so that's going to be 4 times 3 times 5. Okay, that's going to give us 60. Okay, but let's just work it out. Times 5. Okay, and this is divided by 6. Okay, I get x is equal to 1.14, or remember we still need to change the sign outside there. So I'm going to change the sign to negative. So that's minus 1 minus that entire thing inside the bracket. So that gives us negative 1.47. All right, those are the two answers that we have using our quadratic formula because we couldn't factorize in this case. All right, now let's go on to the next one. It is an inequality, and please note, guys, when we are dealing with inequalities, we need to always make sure that we get our critical values. So that's 2x squared minus 5x plus 3, and this is less than 0. Now, let's try and factorize. So in this case, we've got 2x as well as x, right? Factors of 3 in this case would be 3 and 1, but we need to make sure that we order them in such a way that they will give us 5. So we've got 3, we've got 1 there, okay, and we know that both signs inside are negative, right? And so what becomes our critical values? Now please remember, guys, this represents a parabola, right? And this is a parabola. If we look at our critical values, we're going to have critical values at, if we solve this, this will give us x is equal to 3 over 2, as well as x is equal to 1. We always start with the smaller value, so 1 is smaller, and this is 3 over 2, which is a larger value, right? So we write them in ascending order, and we know this is a smiling parabola, so which means it's positive here, it's negative there, and it is positive over there. Now, where is this graph less than 0? Please, I want you to note, where is this graph negative? So it will be negative between 1 and 3 over 2. And please, I want you to note, we do not include those critical values, right? This is where the graph is equal to 0. That's what critical values are. It means this is where the graph is equal to 0. And so we know that we said we want only where the graph is less than 0. Okay, so in this case, we've got x is greater than, okay, so that's x is greater than 1 and less than 3 over 2. Right, I hope that you got that. So that's how the cookie crumbles. And please, if you are still having a challenge with your inequalities, we do have a video that you have there that you can always reference. Let's go on to the next point. Right, so we've got 2 into root of x plus 2, which is equal to x minus 1. Now, we've got a z on the one side. We want to remove that z. All that we simply do is that I am going to square both sides, right? So this is going to be the squaring of both sides. And so as a result, what do we get? We get 4 into, now note, 2 squared is 4, right? And the square root of x plus 2 all squared gives us just x plus 2. And this would be equal to the square of that entire thing. We've got x squared minus 2x plus 1. Okay, so we've got 4x plus 2, which is equal to x squared minus 2x plus 1. And in this case, we've got, right, if we're going to solve for this, that's going to be minus 6x minus 2x. The minus 4x to the other side gives us negative 6x. And we've got the 2, taking it to the other side, we now have 1 minus 2. In fact, sorry, I made a mistake there. Ooh, you see, we really need to be careful there. So that's 4 times x, which is 4x, and that's 4 times 2, which is 8. Okay, right, so which will give us x squared minus 6x, right? And we've got on the other side 1 minus 8, which will give us minus 7, and that will be equal to 0. Right, and so what do we get on the other side? We've got x and x, we've got 7 and 1, right? Factors of 7 such that when I subtract them will give me 6. That's going to be 7 and 1. And in this case, all that this does is we've got minus and we've got plus over there. And so x is equal to 7 or x is equal to 1. Now, please, I want you to note, whenever, negative 1 that is, whenever you get an answer for, solving for x by squaring both sides, we need to go and check or test the solution if the left-hand side would be equal to the right-hand side. Now, let's take this one and check if that is going to give us the correct answer. So this is going to be 7 plus 2, on the left hand side, right? And on the other side, so we're taking everything that we have except for the squares. So this will give us 7 minus 1. And so this is going to be 2 multiplied by 7 plus 2 gives us 9. Square root of 9 is 3. So 2 times 3 gives us 6. And 7 minus 1 does give us 6 as well. So definitely left hand side does equal right hand side. So that is a solution. Now let's check with x is minus 1. We get 2, that's square root of minus 1 plus 2. Okay, and we've got minus 1, minus 1. And I can already see I've got a negative on the other side. There's no way I'll get a negative this side because I've got a positive square root. And so all that it tells us is that this answer is not applicable. X is not equal to negative 1. Or if you want to write it in another way, you can say this answer is not applicable. Right, please remember, guys, to check your solution, to check if the left-hand side does in fact equal to the right-hand side. Okay, and please don't be like me and avoid those mistakes. Okay, right, so let's go to the next one. They want us to solve for x and y simultaneously. Right, this is the favorite part of algebra. I know most of you like this. So I'm going to take this as my equation 1. So that's x plus 3y, which is equal to 2. Right? So from this equation, let's isolate let's make one of the variables the subject of the formula. And I'm going to make x the subject of the formula because I'm avoiding fractions. You see, there's a coefficient in front of y. So in this case, we are avoiding having fractions. So this is going to be 2 minus 3y. Okay, we can call this equation 1, or you can call it equation 2. But what's the other equation? We've got x squared minus 3xy, okay, which is equal to 4. So let's call this equation 2, and I'm going to substitute equation 1 into equation 2. So that means everywhere I see x, I'm going to substitute it with 2 minus 3y. So let's do that. That's going to be 2 minus 3y squared minus 3y times x. Okay, so this is going to be 2 minus 3y, and all of this is equal to 4. All right, now let's expand this. So this is going to give us 4. That's 2 squared. Now remember, when I find the middle term, whenever I square brackets, I say for the middle term, it's going to be the first term multiplied by the second term multiplied by 2. So that's 2 multiplied by negative 3y, right? That's going to be minus 6y times 2, which will give us minus 12y. Okay, right? And the last term will be minus 3y squared, which is going to be plus 9y squared. Right, so we multiply into that bracket. That will give us negative 3y times 2. That's negative 6y. Okay, negative 3y times negative 3y. That's going to give us plus 9y squared. Okay, I'm going to bring the 4 to the other side. This is minus 4 is equal to 0. All right, now let's try and solve this. Okay, so we've got 9y squared plus 9y squared, which is going to be 18y squared. Okay, so I'm done with those ones. And I've got negative 12y minus 6y. That's another minus 18y. And I've got for my last term, I've got 4 and minus 4. Those two cancel each other out. Okay, so we are now going to have that as our solution. So we can take out 18y as a common factor. What do I have left? That's y minus 1. This is equal to 0. So 18y is equals to 0, so therefore y is 0 or y is equal to 1. Right, so there are no fractions, so there's no basis, or there are no surds, so there are no basis for us to find any solution being not applicable in this case. So we can now find out the value of x. So substitute for y into equation. So I'm going to say substitute for y in equation 1. So x is equal to 2 minus 3y, which is 0, or x is equal to 2 minus 3 times 1. All right, and what do we get for our final answer? X is equal to 2, or x is equal to negative 1. All right, so that is how we're going to get our answers. Solving simultaneously, please, this is where we need to make sure that we get our maximum marks. So we do this as quickly as we possibly can. All right, let's go to the next one. Are we still going well? Please just give me a thumbs up and let me know if everything is still well. Okay, let's go to almost the last one. So they say to us, oh, in fact, it is the last one under this section. So they say we've got x minus 3 all squared is equal to p squared minus 4. Right, they say determine the values of p for which the roots will be non-real. Now remember, for us to have non-real roots, it means that delta is less than 0. It means when we are trying to solve, in this case, it means that for a parabola, it would not have any x-intercepts, right? So for that to be the case, it means you're looking at a parabola that is somewhat looking like this, okay? And for that, delta is less than 0. So let's get this into standard form. So we've got x squared minus 6x plus 9, which is equal to p squared minus 4. So that gives us x squared minus 6x. Now let's bring this entire thing to the other side. We're going to have minus p squared. And if I bring the 4 to the other side, that's 9 plus 4, right? And this would give us plus 13. Okay, and this is equal to 0. So which means my a value is 1, my b value is negative 6, and my c value is minus p squared plus 13. Okay, so we said delta, which is b squared minus 4ac, is less than 0, right? Now remember, they said non-real roots, so it's only less than 0, not less than or equal to 0, right? So what do we get? That's minus 6 all squared minus 4 times a is 1, and c is minus p squared plus 13. And this is less than 0. So this is going to give us 36 plus negative 4 times minus p squared. That's positive 4p squared. Okay, and negative 4 multiplied by 13, right? So that will give us, so that is going to give us 4 times 13, let's see, that's 26 times 2, that's going to be 52. So that's minus 52, okay, and this is less than 0. Right, and all there is to it, so that's 4p squared, right, minus 52 plus 36, minus 52 plus 36, and we get minus 16, which is less than or equal to 0. Now note once again, we've got an inequality, right? If we divide it by 4, so we're left with p squared minus 4, all right, which is less than 0. And you can divide by 4 on either side. So now we've got p squared minus 4. Now remember, what does this look like? It's the difference of squares. So which means we've got p plus 4 and p minus 4 is less than 0. Note, in this case, we've just factorized this. Remember, we just divided by 4, so please don't be alarmed. And because we are dividing by a positive, the inequality does not change sign. Right, so we've got our critical values at -4 as well as +4. Now, where is this graph less than 0? So this graph is less than 0. So we say positive here, it's negative here, and positive there. Where is this graph less than 0? It is less than 0 between -4 as well as +4. This is where this graph is negative. And once again, realize that I did not include my critical values because the graph is equal to 0 over there. Right, so I can say, well, in this case, x is an element of -4 till 4, or you can simply write it as x is greater than -4 and less than 4. And ladies and gents, that is really how the cookie crumbles. Please note your conditions for nature of roots. We know that when we are talking roots that are real, okay, real roots, we know delta is greater or equal to 0. When we talk about roots that are equal, we know that delta is equal to 0. But for non-real roots, delta is less than 0. All right, so that is truly how we are going to do it. And ladies and gents, that brings us to the end of question number 1. And now we are going to be looking at the next question, which is question number 2.